Wonderful, thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming here tonight, and thank you, Chris, for inviting me. I would like to start with a very brief introduction about myself. So I've recently joined the IT accessibility team at Barclays. Before that, I worked as a web accessibility consultant for around 10 years in the UK and in Australia. I'm absolutely passionate about inclusive design and digital inclusion. And I absolutely love ice cream. I could eat ice cream every day of my life. I'm really, really happy to be part of the IT accessibility team at Barclays right now. I'm proud of working at Barclays. Does anybody else work at Barclays? Oh, someone, okay. Ah, cool. So I'm really proud to be working for Barclays. And the reason why I'm proud is that accessibility and inclusion are highly regarded at Barclays. Ashok, who is the CEO of Barclays UK, once stated that one of Barclays' ambitions is to become the most accessible and inclusive FTSE company for all our customers and clients. I mean, it's amazing to be working for a company whose ambition is to become the most accessible and inclusive company. But even better, Barclays does it not only because it realizes the commercial benefits that comes from providing accessible services and products, but most importantly, because it's the right thing to do. So, I mean, I think as a web accessibility, or as someone who has always been a supporter of inclusion and accessibility, it's a great opportunity to be working for this company right now. As you may appreciate, this has not always been the case. There was a time when even Barclays considered accessibility and inclusion as a must-do. So everybody thought of accessibility as we have to do it because we have to comply with regulation. So in the past few years, the IT accessibility team at Barclays had to work really, really hard to change the mindset about accessibility at Barclays. So they had to move away from being a compliance-driven must to an opportunity-focused want-to. And the way they did it, first of all, they had to inspire the hearts of our colleagues working at Barclays. Then we had to educate heads, and finally, enabling hands. Bless you. Honestly, I could be here hours and hours and hours telling you all about the different activities, initiatives that the team undertook to achieve each of these three really, really important components. But I'm aware I only have around 20 minutes. You want to play table tennis and have some more drinks. So I'll just show you a couple of examples of each just to give you an idea of how they achieved that. So first of all, we want to inspire our colleagues' hearts. We want to make sure that everybody who works for Barclays fully understand and appreciate the impact that accessible services and products can have on the life of so many people out there. And I think one of the best ways for someone to truly appreciate the experience of someone with a disability is actually to put yourself in the shoes of someone with a disability. So a while ago, my team offered the opportunity to our colleagues to wear, I don't know if you've ever seen it, what we call the age simulation suit. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, someone, yeah. So basically, you wear this suit that makes you experience firsthand some of the issues or some of the impairments of someone who is getting older and gets arthritis or gets the vision, like can't see very well anymore, can't hear very well anymore, experience just by trying to do their daily activities. So we had this colleague who used to be a banking manager to actually wear the suit, go into a branch and try to withdraw money, so something that he would normally do really, really simply. And I have a very short video for you.
I deal with the older generation every day. So when they asked me to wear an age suit to understand what it's like to be older, I was really keen to get involved. I think the age suit's going to give me a fantastic insight into what it's like to go about your day-to-day life with restrictions. The idea of wearing a heavy suit with electric pulses replicating arthritis in your fingers is really daunting. But maybe this'll help me understand how my grandma feels. The goggles make everything slightly yellow and blurred. You can't really quite see through them, you want to keep trying to wipe them. Feels like you've got sandbags attached to your ankles. The noise restriction is really debilitating. You just don't know what's going on around you.
I just need to take £100.
I can see the numbers okay, but the screen is really difficult to see. You start to get very tired, very impatient.
80, 90 and 100 for you. There we are.
Feel very isolated in this suit, very within yourself.
And this is just a section of the video. If you want to see the full video, it's available on YouTube, so you can go and check all the other amazing things that this colleague tried to do while wearing the suit. But as you have probably seen, just by wearing the suit for a few minutes, made this colleague realize some of the issues that older customers may experience when they go into a branch. And also made him experience that feeling of isolation that some older customers may experience. So an activity like this built the empathy, which is so important for accessibility to happen. And I'm sure that when he went back to work, to his branch, it would have took into consideration the needs of the older customers. Similar activity that we run sometimes is what we call the empathy lab. So in our office, we simply put on lots of different tables, different equipment that colleagues can come in and try just for a few minutes. It doesn't take very long. And again, they simulate different types of disabilities or impairments. So for example, we have these gloves that you can wear, and they make bending your things very difficult, so it's very difficult to hold objects. So it emulates how someone with arthritis, for example, can feel. Or we have glasses simulating different types of vision impairments, glasses that simulate how someone who is colorblind may see the screen of a computer, and so on. So again, really, really simple activity to organize, to run, but it can really build that empathy. And we also have lots and lots and lots of videos that are available on our intranet. Each video is very short, a couple of minutes each, with different customers and colleagues with different impairments that talks about their experience of trying to make payments or call the customer service, doing very simple activities and just showing the what may make it easier for them to do those activities. And a similar program that has been very well received was what we call the This Is Me program, which Barclays launched in 2015, where colleagues with mental health issues talk about their experience. It has been really, really successful. We have around 250 videos now for different colleagues talking about their experience, and that helped break the silence and the stigma that often is associated with mental health issues, so really successful. So through these activities and many, many, many others, we managed to inspire hearts. After that, we had to educate heads. This is because even when someone understands the importance of accessibility, there are still a lot of misconceptions around accessibility, and unless we get rid of those misconceptions, accessibility is not going to happen. And I'm sure you probably have seen or heard, more than seen, heard some of these misconceptions yourself. So accessibility is expensive, it's only the developer's responsibility, few people benefit from accessibility, and so on. So again, we produced videos we created posters, we ran awareness sessions, all of that to try and remove those misconceptions. So this is an example of our posters that explains to the project teams how, for example, accessibility is not expensive if you integrate at the very beginning of a project, but can be really expensive if you try to retrofit for accessibility. Or it shows, for example, that 12.9 million people in the UK have a disability, so people who benefit from accessibility are actually a lot, and so on. So it's just about trying to get rid of those really, really common misconceptions around accessibility and inclusion. And finally, the third very important element of trying and promote the cultural shift around accessibility is about enabling hands. After we inspire hearts and educate the project team, if we had just told them, well, now you know why accessibility is important, go and do it, nothing would have happened. So we had to actually provide the resources and the tools for project teams to actually integrate accessibility. Again, we did it in a lot of different ways. For example, we provided tools that they can use to actually test accessibility themselves. So instead of coming to us every time, they can test accessibility of their own content, products or services, at least the basic level. But we also provide them with what we call the lean accessibility controls, which is just some processes and systems that they can use to easily and regularly engage with us. So we are involved in every time they build a new product or every time they add a feature or modify a feature of a product. We also work with designers and developers to build design libraries so that developers don't have to build their own components from scratch. They can just go there, grab the component they need, add it to the product. And clearly those components are accessible. And finally, we built an intranet site called the Accessibility Academy. So everybody who works at Barclays can go there, and that contains lots and lots of resources, documents, templates, standards, videos, training material, and many, many more resources they can use to learn about accessibility and learn how to implement it and create inclusive products. And I have an example here. So I don't know if you are familiar with these. These are the 7 inclusive design principles developed by the Paciello Group. We asked the Paciello Group the permission to use them. We work with our designers to create some posters with these principles so that the project teams can go there, find them on the intranet, print them, put them on their board, so they work really well as a reminder for them to include accessibility in their projects. And I'm very, very pleased that Simone before mentioned personas, because actually we have also created some personas at Barclays. We have created this personas magazine that all project teams can come and collect. And they're also available on the Accessibility Academy. So often, although generally personas are commonly used in all project teams to identify the needs and preferences of the users, rarely disability is something that is included in the personas. That's why we've created, I don't know how many there are, maybe 12, I think, 12 personas. So for example, this is Maya, who has dyslexia. And as you can see, this persona includes all the features that you would normally have in a persona. So what banking products she has, the frustration, the goals, bio, lifestyle, device usage. But in addition to that, it also has the requirements specific to the type of disability that she has. So by having those personas with different types of disabilities included, the project teams can really consider those requirements when they design their products and services. So that's an example of a resource that is available on the Accessibility Academy. The team has done an amazing job inspiring the hearts of our colleagues, educating their heads, enabling their hands, So they've done an amazing job. They managed to change the mindset about accessibility at Barclays. And thanks to that hard work they've done in the past few years, as I said at the beginning of my talk, accessibility and inclusion is highly regarded at Barclays. And in the past few years, Barclays has created some really, I think, some really inclusive products and services that I'm proud of, we're proud of. And I have a couple of these services here that I want to share with you. The very first one, I don't know if you have ever seen them, if anyone has one of these. They're these really colorful debit cards. Has anyone ever seen this? You? So if you're a Barclays customer, you want one of these, just request it. They're going to send it to you. As you can see, they're very, very colorful. They have lots of different colors. They all have a they have a really good color contrast. As Ian mentioned before, color contrast is really, really important for people with different types of disabilities. They also have, some of them, they also have this big arrow. That's to help the customer understand which is the side that needs to go into the ATM. So someone with low vision may help them realize where the right side to put in the ATM is. They also all have a notch, again, to help the customer understand where they have to hold it when they make the payment. And I want to show you, I have this 60 seconds, a really quick video. I want to show you how the very first high contrast, high visibility debit card was created.
You said using debit cards is difficult when you're visually impaired.
When I came in to see Jonathan, I've got a wristband that says I'm visually impaired, and he spotted that.
The colours that he was able to see a little bit better were very bright colours. I did mention to him that through our personalised debit card system, we could actually upload some bright colours onto his debit card, allowing him to differentiate between the different cards in his wallet. I took it upon myself to take a number of pictures of different coloured items that I had at home.
And then it was looking at different colours that we had to try and make it work.
We decided that yellow debit card was the best suitable option for him.
I thought, wow, what a great idea. So we partnered with RNIB and British Dyslexia Association, and what we created was a dozen or so high-vis debit card images which had a range of colours.
So we just listened to our customers. That's what we did. So someone working in a branch realized that one of the customers who regularly went there was struggling with the card, and thought, why not change the color? It's not that complex. We don't need, it's not a complex technology. We're not using, I don't know, virtual reality or machine learning. We're just changing the color. It's not such a big, difficult thing to do, but it has such a big impact for that customer. So when we saw that, my team was like, why don't we do it for all our customers? I'm sure that customer can benefit from that. So we work with RNIB, we work with the British Dyslexia Association, just to come up with a number of color combinations that may work for lots of different of our customers. And very, very recently, we actually also made a final change, which is we made the little tiny digits that normally are on the back of the card a bit bigger, so they're easier to see as well. So really easy, simple idea that has actually great benefit for a lot of customers. Not necessarily someone with a disability. I mean, they're probably easier to use for everybody, so they're really an inclusive product. Another case study I'm really proud of is about Pin Sentry. Does anyone have one of these? Okay. Do you like using it? No, it's awful. Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. So this thing for those who don't have one, it's called Pin Sentry. It's a thing that you put your card in, and it produces an identification code that you put into your internet banking to identify yourself. I mean, it works for most customers. Not the best experience, but it works for most customers. And this version, so the original, the standard version of Pin Sentry, I always had an audio option. So if you're blind, you can use it. The other option will read out the code for you. So it works OK for people who are blind. But it does not take into account the needs of other customers who are not blind, but may have other types of impairments or disabilities. So we used to receive lots of complaints about this thing. I find the Pin Sentry hard to use due to sight and joint problems, and in the larger device with a much larger keypad. I find Pin Sentry device an obstacle, and so on. We got lots of complaints from both customers and colleagues who were working in branches who had to use it to identify the customers who were going to the branch. So I don't know if you actually remember, but even in the video that we saw at the beginning with the guy in the age simulation suit going to a branch, he was using it, and having to use it with the gloves on were quite difficult, and also wearing the glasses was the numbers, the digits on Pin Sentry were difficult to see. So around a year ago, we decided to actually do something about these complaints and try to come up with something a little bit more easier to use for everybody. So we worked with experts to come up with a new design, and then we shared the new design with our colleagues who have different types of disabilities, got their feedback. We came up with another design, got feedback, came up with another design, so it was an iterative process. At some point in the process, we also got AbilityNet to run some user testing with people who have a disability who were external from Barclays. And in the end, we came up with the more accessible and inclusive Pin Sentry. Not a huge difference, again. But the new Pin Sentry is bigger. The buttons and the numbers are bigger. There is a repeat button. So if you struggle to read the numbers, or if you haven't actually if you're using the audio output and you want the audio to repeat the numbers, you can press that. There is a zoom feature, so you can press that to make the digits larger. All the buttons have the pins for people who are blind to identify the different buttons. We added a cancel button because before there wasn't a cancel button, so if you entered the wrong digit, you had to clear, which means you went back to the previous screen. So then you have to re-enter. Yeah, system was like, yeah, I've done that many times. But now we have the cancel button, so you can just press 1 and you can just delete the last digit. The layout is more consistent with an ATM, so that creates consistency. So it's easier for everybody to use. And actually, even to change the battery, if you have to change the battery on the standard Pin Sentry, it's really hard. You have to have a really, really tiny screw and trying to get these off. While on this one, you just kind of do that, and you change it. So much, much easier to change battery as well. And the manual, who used to be around 30 pages long, now it's 4 pages. So I actually haven't seen the original one, so I don't know what they managed to write about like in 30 pages. But so again, no need for virtual reality or machine learning, just simple changes, just listening to our customers, to just including the needs and preferences of all our customers, not only the people without disabilities and the people who are blind, but people with different types of impairments, and just getting that constant feedback. Every time we come up with a new design, we get the feedback from customers and colleagues with a disability. So now we actually got some positive feedback about the new accessible pin entry. And if you need one, you can just request one, and Barclays will be really happy to send it to you. So yeah, that were all the examples I wanted to share with you, but I have many, many more, as I said. So if you want to know anything more, feel free to ask any questions or come and grab me later on. And feel free to get in touch, because we're always happy to share our experience with other organizations and vice versa.
I just have a question. You said that you tested some of the things with people in Barclays who had accessibility issues on top of that. So do you have like a network of people with all sorts of problems that you always test?
Yes, so we have a network which is called the REACH network. I can't remember exactly how many people that includes, but yeah, basically lots of colleagues who either have some type of impairment or disability themselves, or some of their family has some kind of impairment. So yeah, we are lucky that they're happy to be involved whenever we want feedback. It's not always easy because clearly we have offices in lots of different locations, so it's not always easy to get their feedback face-to-face, but we can just send some designs, some screenshots, and get, it's a very quick and easy way to get a first feedback before actually running some proper user testing. And funny enough, although they work for Barclays, they're always more than happy to criticize Barclays products and services. So they're even more honest than the people that you get when you run user testing with external people, because they may be a bit worried about not offending us too much, but our colleagues really don't care. So their feedback is really honest and useful.
Hi, you say that the pin entry is, well, it works for most people, but it's not the best experience. I was just wondering if something you considered was sort of swapping that out for a different authentication method that may be a better user experience overall for everybody.
Yeah. So this is not the only method. So now you can use the, if you have, for example, the app, the Barclays app on your mobile, you don't need to use that at all. You can just use the equivalent digital way to identify yourself using the app. But we found that some people, especially, I mean, this is a generalization, but let's say a lot of older customers still prefer having the physical device instead of using an app. So because they like to sit in front of their computer and, you know, like to use the device, get the PIN, enter the PIN in their computer, and like to use their smartphone to do that. So that's why we decided to keep it, but to make it a bit more inclusive for everybody. But yeah, there is the alternative of using the digital version of it now. And clearly we try to make the digital version accessible as possible as well.
Okay, so we need to close the evening there. Please stay for some table tennis and some more drinks, and come and thank Emanuela and all our speakers, please.